Something you long believed to be true but realized wasn't.
Well, as one of the main opponents of the Illuminati, I always wanted to know what information they had that we didn't.
Now, we finally have an update on the drowning death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Now, according to ABC7, they stated that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had drowned while he was on vacation in Costa Rica. Now, the article goes on to say that Warner had drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday.
So Katt Williams been sounding the alarm for years, saying straight up, if you're a black man in Hollywood and you don't follow their rules, they'll erase you like you never existed. And now, when you look back at the late Malcolm-Jamal Warner's career, it hits different. All those warnings Katt gave, they start to feel real. Malcolm wasn't out here chasing clout or tap dancing for attention. He had principles, turned down roles that made black men look goofy or weak.
Life, it's fragile, and in the blink of an eye,
you never know.
You never know. So speaking of legacy, what do you hope that your legacy is going to be?
There is part of me that I will be able to leave this earth, knowing and people knowing that I was a good person.
He refused to do that, put on a dress and act like a clown routine that the industry loves, pushing on brothers who just want to act. And what did he get in return? Locked out the game. Not because he lacked talent, because we know he had that in spades, but because he wouldn't play puppet for their little circus. And now that he's gone, suddenly everybody's a fan? Media outlets posting tributes, celebrities calling him a legend, saying he was so underrated. Man, where was all this love when he was alive and grinding on his own terms? Where was the support when he was still here doing meaningful work without selling out? This ain't about no conspiracy for clicks. This is about patterns.
I spent, so much of the early part of my life listening to, being celebrated on one hand, but paying way too much attention to the nation.
This is about how Hollywood buries real ones while they're breathing and praises them only when it's too late to make a difference. Katt Williams been calling this out forever and nobody wanted to hear it. Let's break down the real story. What Katt Williams has been exposing for years, what Malcolm-Jamal Warner actually stood for, and why all this praise only came raining down after he died.
Some of us make choices. I think it's not a biggest choice for others. I'm saying at the end of the day, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress-wearing people before him. So now we have Big Mama's house 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I've never seen Medea in a pantsuit. I think she wears dresses. So now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next. Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them. End quote.
We all love Dave Chappelle.
Exactly. Dave Chappelle has never been a part of the Illuminati. They don't want him or me or people like us.
Malcolm, who most people remember as Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show, tragically passed on July 20th, 2025. He was in Lyman, Costa Rica, on a low-key family trip, just trying to enjoy some peace. He was swimming with his 8-year-old daughter when a deadly rip current pulled them under. That specific beach, it's notorious for brutal tides, and guess what? No lifeguards were on duty that day. Officials later admitted they had shifted emergency staff to other areas after some recent chaos nearby, so when the rip hit, no trained help was even there. It was just surfers, random brave locals who jumped in when they saw the panic. One of them managed to reach the daughter and pull her to safety. Another surfer swam out for Malcolm, but it was too late.
These are the first things we saw when we pulled up to the beach. Signs in Spanish and English warning people about potentially hazardous conditions. This sign even giving a roadmap for how to escape a rip current.
By the time emergency crews reached the scene, they couldn't bring him back. He had drowned, dying from asphyxia due to submersion. And the surfer who tried to rescue him, he ended up in the hospital, clinging to life in critical condition. When the autopsy came out, it confirmed what many already feared. This was a pure accident.
Rican Beach, where officials say a dangerous rip current swept away Malcolm-Jamal Warner. The Cosby Show star drowning in secluded paradise on Sunday. What makes that beach so treacherous?
You know, it's similar to other beaches where there are strong rip currents, that are deceiving.
Mike Geist helps run a volunteer lifeguard organization here. He says while no lifeguards were on duty that day, Geist's friend, who happens to be a trained lifeguard, was there to surf and discovered Warner unresponsive in the water. Costa Rica's Red Cross says they were able to rescue another man alive who was taken to a clinic in critical condition.
Rica, Jesse, officials say Warner's autopsy is now complete.
It was completed this morning, according to authorities, Tom, and they say that it confirmed that Warner's drowning death was, in fact, an accident.
What made Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death hit so deep wasn't just how it happened. It's who he was. He was one of the rare child stars in Hollywood who never spiraled, never sold out, never compromised his integrity just to stay famous. That's almost unheard of in the game. Malcolm didn't just survive the industry. He thrived on his own terms. A self-made multimillionaire, Emmy-nominated actor, Grammy-winning musician, respected poet, director, and a man who actually stood for something in real life, not just in his roles. He moved with purpose. He built his legacy off pure discipline and talent. No gimmicks, no shortcuts. While the tabloids loved scandals, Malcolm gave them nothing to chew on. He was a loyal husband who never got divorced, a proud father who had no kids outside of marriage, something you rarely hear about in that world. And even off camera, his peers loved him. People who worked with him only ever had one thing to say: respect. Malcolm was the blueprint of what a strong, centered, grown man looks like. And then just like that, a freak accident cuts his life short at 54. No warning, no health issues, no mess. One moment he's in paradise with his daughter, the next he's gone. It's cruel, honestly. But let's be real. The only thing tragic about Malcolm's story is how short it was. Because when you look at what he did with his time, man, he mastered life. He gave us the kind of example this world desperately needs more of. But here's what we really gotta address: how Hollywood straight up ghosted Malcolm-Jamal Warner while he was still alive. And now, everything Katt Williams been shouting for years suddenly lines up crystal clear with this exact moment. Malcolm didn't fall off. Don't get it twisted. He didn't fade out because of lack of talent. He just refused to play the Hollywood clown game. After The Cosby Show, he could have cashed in easy. Big budget sitcoms, loud, over-the-top movie roles, some corny black best friend character in every other rom-com. The doors were open. He just didn't walk through them because he had standards. Malcolm said no to roles that made black men look like jokes. No to dresses, no to exaggerated accents, no to buffoonery. He refused to sell out his identity just to get a bag. He wanted to represent something real, something with dignity. And that choice cost him. And that's where Katt Williams slides in. Because he'd been on this wave from the start. Through every interview, stand-up set, and podcast rant, Katt's been warning us. Screaming that Hollywood boxes black entertainers into stereotype. If you don't play your character or the loud fool, the broken man, the punchline, they blacklist you, period. Katt turned down the same degrading roles. Said no to the wigs, the suits, the fake accents, and the clown behavior. And just like Malcolm, he paid the price. They called him crazy, labeled him unreliable. Let's keep it real. Malcolm-Jamal Warner had the full package. Talented, sharp, disciplined, and wise.
So even before conception, we were very clear we were having it. And I knew that I needed a girl first to kind of ease me into it, because I have a pretty good idea of what kind of father I would be. So I needed a girl to kind of, slow me down and warm, soften me up, if you will. So for me, raising my daughter, I came into fatherhood already with a certain maturity and certain understanding of male-female dynamics. And with a girl, all of that starts with the father. So I've always, since I literally pulled her out of my wife.
But because he didn't fit Hollywood's mold and flat out refused to perform in the way they expected, they benched him. All because he wouldn't play the clown, wouldn't tap dance for a check. But here's the twist. Malcolm didn't even care. He wasn't begging Hollywood for scraps. He was thriving on his own terms. He launched his own podcast called Not All Hood, where he regularly went off about how the media tries to box in black people, acting like we all think the same, live the same, move the same. He was never scared to call it out. Instead of chasing industry approval, Malcolm put his energy into projects that mattered. He produced and starred in powerful documentaries, theater pieces, and indie films that tackled real issues. From Black history to systemic injustice, he picked truth over trend every single time. And in 2021, Malcolm straight up took the gloves off. He wrote a bold op-ed for the Television Academy where he exposed the real problem: Hollywood's gatekeepers. He said it plain. It's mostly white executives, white producers, white writers, and white directors deciding how Black people get portrayed on screen. And during those rare times when Hollywood loosens the gate just a little, it's never enough to truly shift the narrative. Malcolm once wrote, "During the cycles where the gate hinges loosen lightly and Black creatives are given some input and illusion of control," and that line says everything. Even when they let Black actors or creators through the door, it's still on their terms. Sure, you might get to play a lawyer or doctor, but the same tired stereotypes still lurk underneath. The image might look polished, but the agenda stays the same. Malcolm saw through the illusion, and he spoke up, loud. He wasn't just calling out TV execs and Hollywood gatekeepers, he also turned his focus to the culture itself. Malcolm went after modern rap and hip-hop for pushing toxic masculinity, glorifying violence, and disrespecting women. He demanded better. He asked for healing instead of hype. When that whole Kendrick versus Drake beef took over the internet last year, most people were just watching for entertainment, not Malcolm. He stepped in with real critique, pointing out how the only time hip-hop gets mainstream shine is when it's feeding negativity, never when it's about growth, love, or unity. And that hit a nerve. So when Katt Williams says the industry only uplifts you when they control the narrative, this is exactly what he means. Malcolm wasn't easy to package. He wasn't the funny sidekick or the goofy guy in a wig. He wanted to show the world a real version of a Black man. Intelligent, deep, complex, human. And because of that, a lot of opportunities passed him by. He didn't chase cheap fame. He said no to work that would have made him more popular but less respected. And meanwhile, you saw other actors, same era, blowing up fast by leaning hard into the same roles Malcolm refused. That formula worked for them, sure, but that wasn't Malcolm's mission. Malcolm stayed true to himself, and yeah, it came with a cost. In interviews, he even hinted at what was going on behind closed doors. His own team told him straight up, "You're too serious, not marketable enough." Translation, too Black, too smart, too honest. And in Hollywood, that combo gets you blacklisted real quick. That silence, that slow fade from the spotlight, it wasn't by accident. It was because Malcolm refused to dance for them. He wouldn't play the fool. He wasn't going to do the humiliation ritual just to keep a check coming in. And that's exactly what Katt Williams has been screaming from the rooftops. When you say no to being a puppet, they don't argue with you, they erase you. But now that Malcolm's gone, suddenly Hollywood can't stop talking about him. Now he's a legend, a pioneer. Now they got glowing tributes, Instagram stories from celebs, think pieces calling him ahead of his time. But where was all that energy before he died? Malcolm didn't chase clout. He didn't show up to every red carpet or sell out for award show applause. And because he moved with integrity, the big platforms barely acknowledged him. The same award shows that snubbed him are now posting about how deeply missed he'll be. Now all of a sudden, these streaming services got unreleased projects they want to promote, like Malcolm wasn't sitting in the dark before, waiting on the green light that never came. It's wild. Overnight, he became the safe Black icon. And that's the part that stings the most. They waited until Malcolm couldn't speak for himself to finally give him his flowers. All these Hollywood tributes hitting the timeline now feel less like honor and more like damage control. Like they're trying to rewrite the story after the fact, make it look like they always saw his greatness, when really they left him out in the cold. Because while Malcolm was alive, they weren't shouting him out. They weren't putting him on stages, giving him awards, or backing his passion projects. Nah, they were too busy pushing the next viral clown, too focused on who would play the game. And the few moments Malcolm did get a little buzz, it was always on indie circuits, niche platforms, or low-budget specials that never got marketing, never got the mainstream push. Now they want to act like he was always part of the system, when he wasn't. He was fighting against it. Malcolm was building something different, quietly, intentionally, and he never compromised. That's why the people, the real fans, the culture, are mourning so deeply, because we know what they tried to do to him, and we see what they're trying to do now. It's the classic playbook. Silence the voices that won't bend, and then pretend they were heroes all along once they're gone. Katt Williams been telling us this ain't new. They erase the truth tellers in life, then rebrand them in death. And here's the real kicker. Now that Malcolm's gone, they're scrambling to polish the narrative. But the truth is, they didn't want him while he was breathing. Not really. He was too real, too principled, too hard to control, so they let him fade, quietly, while he was doing the work that actually mattered, educating, uplifting, creating from the heart, but without the Hollywood stamp of approval. And now they're treating his name like a brand, putting him on tribute reels, teasing lost footage, acting like they always had love for him. But we remember the silence. We remember the years when his name was barely mentioned while the same machine kept pumping out stereotype after stereotype. Let's not act brand new. This isn't the first time it's happened. It's a cycle. They ignore the voices with substance until it's safe to claim them. They sideline the ones who don't play puppet. And when tragedy strikes, suddenly it's all icon, legend, trailblazer. But Malcolm didn't need their fake flowers. He bloomed without their light. He built something real, even if it wasn't mainstream. And that's why his story matters more than ever right now. Because there are still people out here just like him, still fighting to be seen without selling out, still getting pushed to the side for speaking truth. And now the question is, will Hollywood finally learn, or will they keep running the same tired play? Because if this whole Malcolm-Jamal Warner situation proves anything, it's that real ones don't get their shine until it's too late. Katt Williams been warning us loudly for years about the humiliation rituals, about how the gatekeepers only push black talent when they can mold it into something profitable, something palatable, something watered down. And if you dare to be your full self, bold, black, and unfiltered, they shut you out, or worse, paint you as difficult until your name stops getting called. But Malcolm's story, it flipped that script. He said no to being a character and yes to being a man, a father, a husband, an artist. He chose purpose over popularity, legacy over likes. And even though it cost him mainstream shine, he never folded. That's why his loss feels like more than just another tragedy. It feels like a wake-up call. Now fans are flooding timelines, clips of his interviews going viral, old podcast episodes being shared like they're gospel. People are finally listening. But imagine if they'd listened while he was still here. Imagine what doors could have opened if his voice was amplified instead of ignored. Now everybody's out here celebrating Malcolm. And that's exactly how the industry plays it. They don't give you your props while you're alive and standing on truth. They wait until it's safe when you're gone. To remix your image into some inspiration, they can package for press releases, tributes, and streaming promos. Katt Williams called this years ago. Hollywood doesn't celebrate real ones when they're speaking out. They only acknowledge you once you've been silenced, when your voice can't challenge them anymore. That's when they turn your life into a highlight reel, sanitized, branded, and profitable. So now we have to ask, is all this love for Malcolm real, or just another Hollywood cleanup job? Because let's not forget, his refusal to sell out made him a target, not a star. They didn't reward him for staying grounded, they ignored him for it. He didn't fit the narrative, so they left him out the spotlight. But Malcolm wasn't just another celebrity chasing fame. He was one of the few who stayed focused, stayed intentional, and never wavered, even when it cost him roles, deals, or clout. In a town that thrives on fakery, he chose substance. And yeah, that made him easy to overlook. Until now. His death, it's more than tragic. It's a brutal reminder of how rare integrity really is in this business. So let's talk about it. Was Malcolm pushed out because he wouldn't play their game? Why does it always take someone dying before Hollywood finally pays attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is real love or just a polished PR move? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want more deep dives like this.